Good morning to everybody. How you doing? Hope all's well. Keep up the beautiful work. Today is Wednesday. Buy one, get one. Parashat Shemot, the days of the Shovavim. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach v'yitromam. May it be a blessing for all of us. May the Torah learning be a blessing for all of us. May everyone have Refuah shelemah. Everyone should have parnasah b'shefa, shalom, and everything good. Hashem just has to hit that button. Yalla, it's right next to the Diet Coke button on the president's desk, the Mashiach button. Just press it, break glass in case of emergency. We'll need the Mashiach. We'll all go. If we're learning the parashiot of Mitzrayim, then we'll all go to, just like we came out of Mitzrayim, Hashem will take us out of this exile with our heads up high, and we'll go to Yerushalayim, Habnuya, Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, L'Selameh. Before we get to our featured presentation, as we said, we'd like to talk some laws of Lashon Hara in the days of the Shovavim, because we have to spread the word that everyone should be like you and be careful with their tongue without talking gossip. We know how lucky we are that we could control the heavenly courts of the judgments that they might have. Not everyone is as perfect as you, and some people don't recycle their garbage. Some people, God forbid, may have a sin. Some people might do things they're not supposed to. And we know in the next world there's no sketching the system. Over here in Brooklyn, we can know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. However, up there, there's no finagling the bagel. However, our rabbis tell us that if a person is careful with Lashon Hara, either not talking Lashon Hara or not listening, so in the heavenly courts, Hashem says, if he or she doesn't listen to gossip, then how could we in the court listen to anything negative about them? We are the ones who control our heavenly outcomes, believe it or not. Hashem Selcha Yad Yaminecha. When we move our hand, the shadow moves. The Hashem is like the shadow. The way we are over here is the way they are with us in heaven. If you're generous here, they'll be generous with you. If you're kind and forgiving, the same thing goes up there. But when it comes to LH, that's why the Gemara says it's more powerful than the three most severe sins. The most severe sins are idolatry, adultery, and murder. A person has to give up their life for those sins. If someone says, go kill someone, or God forbid, they'll kill that person, then guess what? They have to give up their life. For the three sins, if they say, go bow down to an idol, you have to give up your life. Has v'shalom, we should all live and be well. And adultery, the same thing. So, how could it be that the Gemara says Lashon Hara is more powerful than those three sins if technically a person doesn't have to give off their life? If someone puts a gun to their head and say, tell me now the gossip of the scoop, what's going on? So you don't have to give up your life. You could tell the person the gossip. So how could it be that it's worse than those three sins? And our rabbis tell us it's more powerful in a way because those three sins doesn't control our heavenly court case. There's accountability. But Lashon Hara, you could control your heavenly court case. That's the answer from the famous, there's a Rabbi Mendel Kessin, who goes around speaking about the laws of Lashon Hara from the Hafetz Hayim. There's many books that they translated from the Hafetz Hayim. He dedicated his life to Lashon Hara, that the people should realize the awareness. And therefore, if that's the reason why we were in Egypt, and that's the reason why, because we perfected the concept of our speech and we were able to leave, so too we want to get out of this galut. So by perfecting Be'ezrat Hashem, our speech, Hashem will bring us out of this exile, Bekarov. And now for our featured presentation, we are learning the laws of Kiddush. We know that Kiddush is a commandment from the Torah. It's not from the Chachamim. Just like we won't have a door without a mezuzah. We won't have a baby boy without a brit milah. We won't have a bar mitzvah without tefillin. We will not have Shabbat without Kiddush. It's a mitzvah aseh mehatorah. It's one of the Ten Commandments, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadesho. And not only that, people think that only Kiddush is from the Torah and Havdalah is not that important. You have to sanctify the Shabbat coming in, and believe it or not, sanctify the Shabbat leaving. Hence, we learn the laws of Havdalah and Kiddush from one another. Just like it enters, so too it leaves. However, even though Kiddush is from the Torah, it's the Ten Commandments as mentioned. However, making the Kiddush on a cup of grape juice or wine, that part is rabbinic, and the rabbis instituted it. The simple understanding why they instituted it is because whenever we say a beracha, that's a very ceremonial beracha. So we take a cup of wine to hold it up as a ceremonial gesture. We do it inshallah shirbu samahot. There should be many weddings with beracha. We make hagefen and we hold a cup of wine by the berachot. We do it by a milah. We do it by a pidyon. Many people do it, believe it or not, by a siyum, even Birkat Hamazon. So it's a beautiful thing to make these items on a cup of wine, and hence Kiddush is the same thing. But believe it or not, Rabbi Miller, Alav Hashalom, Rabbi Avigdor Miller, who, if you don't have his books in your house, you should get some of his books in your house. You should read his wisdom every Shabbat. He's still going strong. He passed away before 9/11. Some people said the rabbis were alive, they were protecting us, and a few rabbis in the United States passed away. And unfortunately, what happened happened. God should watch us all and protect us all, each to their own with why they believe what happened and how it happened. But long story short, a rabbi passed away that long ago. But, people move on to the next rabbis of their generation, of closer to where we are. However, Rabbi Miller, his Torah is still going strong. May it be a merit for all of us. Every Friday night, you have in synagogues in the entire world, in Mexico, in Florida, in New York, in Israel. You have those pamphlets of Torat Avigdor, all from the cassettes, the thousands and the thousands of cassettes that he made of teaching his wisdom to the world. And thank you, Hashem, my father, Allah Shalom. It should be a blessing for his neshama. He was the one who invented the Rabbi Miller tapes. He was closer than a son to Rabbi Miller. And we have all those cassettes and all the Torah, all emanating forth from that. But Rabbi Miller, Allah Shalom, he says the reason why we have wine on Friday night is because what are we supposed to think about when we make Kiddush? What are we supposed to think about as the Shabbat enters? We're supposed to think about Hashem created the world, and now Hashem rested, and how everything in our lives is from Hashem. And sometimes, because we're still in the work mode from Friday, whether it be the ladies quadruple parking on Avenue U or the men coming home last minute from shul, so it's possible your mind is still racing. How are you supposed to think of Hashem when your mind is so preoccupied? However, when we drink maybe a cup of wine and it helps us relax, obviously in moderation, obviously with wisdom, that's why Rabbi Miller says they instituted a cup of wine when we make Kiddush. Whether that's the answer or another answer, but definitely the concept is for sure true that we definitely have to think of Hashem at that moment. That's what the Kiddush is all about. That's what Friday night is all about. We have the two breads. Look how Hashem sustains the Jewish people in the desert. He sustained us for 40 years with bread falling from the sky. Imagine for supporting, God bless, 3 million Jews who like to eat. Look how many, restaurants are not even a dime a dozen anymore. I don't know what you want to call it. A penny a dozen. There's a restaurant, every place, everything. Uber Eats, heck yeah, the guy's eating soup and this, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Mashallah. Jewish people like to eat, and everyone should be able to always spend what they want with beracha. However, it was not easy to feed all of the Jewish people, and Hashem did. So we think Friday night, sometimes we're a little tense. How am I going to pay for this? And how am I going to pay for that? But when you think that Hashem is the one and you put your faith in Him, then you will be able to pay what you need, etc. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach. Friday night, some people say Mizmor David. Hashem Ro'i before the Shabbat Kiddush, Friday night Kiddush, each to their own. But we all say it in Shul after the Amidah, after the Hazara. Hashem Ro'i lo echsar. Hashem is my shepherd. I'm never lacking anything. Do you know, number one, of course, anyone who thinks about Havadiyah 24/7, Ro'i is Resh Ayin Yud, which stands for Rabbeinu Ovadia Yosef. How you doing? But long story short, there are 57 words in Mizmor David that we say Friday night. 57 is not Heinz varieties. 57 is Zan, Nun Zayin, which spells Zan, which is Parnasah, Mizonot. Hashem gives us sustenance. That's what we're supposed to be thinking on Shabbat. Shalach Yahavcha al Hashem, v'hu yichalkelecha. Throw your burden on Hashem, and He will be the one that will sustain you, and He will give you what you need. Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach. So we make it on the Kiddush, we think of Him, and Bezrat Hashem, by us thinking of Him, we will have beracha for the entire upcoming week. So what happens if someone travels to Johannesville, USA? I always think of my father once again. His yahrzeit coming up. Maybe that's why he keeps popping in my head even more than usual. But long story short, he was once in St. Martin and they forgot grape juice or wine. There was no kosher wine or grape juice. What do you do for Friday night? So he just bought grapes and he squeezed his own grapes and made his own grape juice. Can you do that halachically? 100% you can. But if someone doesn't have that option or they can't do it for whatever reason it is, so what do we do Friday night? We don't use beer Friday night. We don't use tequila or whiskey or the above. You make the kiddush on bread. That's only Friday night, not Saturday lunch. You make kiddush, and instead, of course, saying savri mananan, you don't say bore priya gefen. You say hamosi lechem min haaretz, just like you do. So everybody washes before. Then you sit down to make kiddush. Then you say savrim ananan hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Finish the beracha, right? Asher, whatever we say, and Baruch atah Hashem mekadesh Shabbat, and then eat a piece of bread and give out the bread like we do for the people who like to have the Kol Ram version. You know that it sounds like it's a no-brainer. Let's just do that every week instead of everyone getting up to wash again till you get them by the table for kiddush. It's like pulling teeth. And then after that, everyone goes and does their thing. And then you got to get them for hamotzi, uli alena. Wouldn't it be much easier just to do that? However, obviously, initially, you are not allowed to do that. As a matter of fact, there are some people who hold when you do have wet wine or grape juice, you can wash yadayim for hamotzi before, make kiddush, then make everyone stay by the table, and then make hamotzi right after that. Are you allowed to do that? Survey says Jose Havadiyah does not like that. Ravino Grande no quiere esto. He doesn't like that. He says not to do it unless there's sometimes in a sukkah where you have 1,000 people till they come till they're gonna have to make havdalah instead of making hamotzi. But better we don't do that initially. Some do it initially, but we hold we do not do that initially. Now, Hawadiyat does bring a halacha. It's apropos for the winter to have this thought in mind. We hope the winter was a roughie till now. Thank you, Hashem. It's a little warmer. We should just be safe and healthy. Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach. But because we said the halacha, we make kiddush as Shabbat is entering and Havdalah as Shabbat is exiting. That means you should make kiddush as soon as possible. Some people in the winter, they can't make kiddush early. You go to shul 4:10, you're home 5:10. Depends how long the rabbi's speech was. If the rabbi gets paid by the hour, I'm sorry. And if he gets paid by the hour, sometimes people pay the rabbi Rabbi Ishkay to each pay, and I'll give you double the paying the hour. Long story short, you come home 5:10. Who wants to eat din din at 5:10? You eat din din at 5:10, then you're gonna be starving at 8:30 again. Mashallah. Some people do have 2, 3 dinners a night, and Friday night 4, 5 dinners. I'm scared to say 6, 7 because my phone might shake. Shema Yisrael. But anyway, some people will say, you know what? We'll hang around, spend family time. We'll play toilet. We'll play backgammon. We'll play this. We'll play that, and then we'll make kiddush. So if you do that, you should really make kiddush right away. Eat a little something to manifest the kiddush, which we will talk about, because kiddush has to be bimkom seudah, or you have majority of 3 ounces of grape juice each person, which usually they do not have, and then it's like you had seudah for the kiddush, and then go play your Monopoly, go play your Twister, etc., whatever it is you're playing, and then when you have kiddush, of course you don't make kiddush, you could just make hamotzi, but it would be better to make hamotzi, not hamotzi, kiddush right away as soon as possible. And of course, you need seudah. We will discuss the laws of kiddush from kol seudah in the next few days. Can you wait 72 minutes, etc.? We'll talk about that. But at least for now, it's a good thing to make kiddush right away. We'll say one more halacha. In the old days, they used to have the guests who stopped by in the town would sleep in the knis. And since they slept in the knis, they would have their own eccles. Everyone that had like a hostel in the knis, and people would go lay down, but they would bring their own food. So they need kiddush before they eat. So they would go into their rooms. The rabbi of the shul would make kiddush. They would hear it and they fulfill their obligation. Believe it or not, I've seen in Israel they still have knisses that make kiddush in the shul on Friday night. Believe it or not, which most shuls around. I don't think we have one shul in our community that does that. Maybe Sukkot time when the people have Sukkah, but otherwise they don't do it. But there is, I remember there's a knis that still does it. Well, because that's the authentic custom. And believe it or not, they used to do it in the time of the Gemara, but today we don't have the guests in the shul, sleeping in the shul. So technically you would say it stopped. So what do we do? If they used to do it and now we don't do it, should we do it? Should we not do it? So the rule is, the rabbi says, if there's a knis where you know everyone's going to go home and make kiddush anyway, then don't do it. But it's possible, and that for sure, that synagogue that I was referring to in Israel, people just go to shul hekeh, but they don't make kiddush when they go home. And if they don't make kiddush when they go home, it's a mitzvah taseh from the Torah to make it. So that's why they continue making it in the synagogue. But Baruch Hashem, by us, everyone follows the laws that they're supposed to, and therefore there's no need for kiddush in the shul. We all make it at home. We'll stop here for today. Hope everyone has the greatest day. Keep up the excellent work. Good things always. Be'ezrat Hashem, Yibarach v'Turmam. Be safe. Take care. Bye.